Hi guys! Today we are going to be talking about probably one of the most important topics in all of Mat 117, if not Algebra 1 and 2, which is multiplying binomials, or more commonly referred to as foiling. Before we jump into an example, let's break down what we're talking about. We know that anytime we have two sets of parentheses sitting right next to each other, we know that there is that invisible multiplication sign happening in between there. And a binomial means that there are going to be two terms per our set of parentheses. We got one, we got two. This prefix of bi means two. Think bicycles. So two terms inside of our expressions. Okay, so like I said, this is most commonly referred to as foiling. And I'm going to run through this example before I give you kind of the process as to how we do this. So foiling, let's talk about this. F-O-I-L. This is an acronym that we utilize, okay? The F, this is step one in our multiplication process of our binomials, okay? This F stands for first. And that means that we are going to take the first two terms of our sets of parentheses and multiply them together. You will commonly see me draw arrows like this. So these first two terms, that's our F. We're going to multiply that together. Okay, we did that. Now we are going to add the next part together when we multiply our O, our outer terms. We're going to multiply these two terms together, the x and our 4. This is our O, okay? X times 4. Again, we're going to keep adding, and now we're going to multiply the inner two terms together. The inner two terms together. This is our I. 2 times x, and then finally the L stands for last, okay? The last two terms, this 2 and this 4, we're going to multiply together there, and I am running out of space. Okay, we did the first two terms, the outer two terms, the inner two terms, and the last two terms, okay? Now we're going to multiply it all together and then combine those like terms. Okay, first up, x times x. This was the F. X times x is x squared. Plus x times 4, if we want to write it in our proper format, the coefficient always goes first, 4x, plus this 2 times x, which is just 2x, plus this last of 2 times 4, which is 8, okay? Now, all we're left to do is combine like terms, which is x squared plus 6x plus 8. So we know now that x squared plus 6x plus 8 is the exact same thing as x plus 2 times x plus 4. We just multiplied, we foiled those binomials together, okay? I'm going to pause here, and when I hit unpause, you guys are going to see the process written out, and we'll walk through it. And welcome back, guys. So I went ahead and wrote out the process that I generally like to use when I'm teaching students how to use the foiling process. I like to use letters in place of those variables and numbers. It's a very procedural type of thing, and you just really have to take the time to remember the process on how to do this. So remember, we're talking about multiplying two binomials together. We have two terms per expression there. A plus B times C plus D. Let's remember that F stands for first, which is when we're multiplying A times C together. So you can always use this process, whether there's the variable sitting in this term or in this term, you can always use this process, okay? Starting with your F is always A times C. Adding to your O, your outside terms, of A times D, okay? Adding again to your B times your C, this is your I, those inside terms, and then finally your out or your last terms, B times D. You combine all of those terms together, and you combine them where you can. Generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, you are going to combine your O and your I into one set. They are most likely going to be like terms. Not always, but most of the time, okay? I'm gonna, again, go ahead and pause it so we can jump into one more example. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our last example here. We are now multiplying x plus 3 times x minus 7. Just for consistency's sake, let's go ahead and label each of these terms A, B, C, and D. And let's go ahead and jump in. Let's go ahead and do our F in our FOIL. Remember, F stands for first. It'll be those first two terms, and if you're following along from the last process that I wrote out, it's going to be A times C, which we know is x squared. X times x is x squared. Let's go ahead and do our O. We always add them together. We're going to multiply x times negative 7. Now this time we have that negative thrown in there. Negative 7 times x is going to be negative 7x. We'll simplify in the next line. Next up, let's go ahead and do our I. B times C, so 3 times x, adding them together is just 3x. And then finally, let's do our L, those last terms. 3 times negative 7, again, we're adding them together, but this time it is a negative 21. Okay, just a reminder, this was our F, this was our O, our I, and our L. Okay, let's go ahead and combine like terms. We have nothing that we can combine with our x squared. There are no other terms here with a second power. So leave that x squared alone. But our O and our I, next up, we can combine those like terms. We have a negative 7x plus a 3x, positive 3x. Negative 7 plus 3 is a negative 4x. Adding that negative 4x. And then finally, we bring down this adding of a negative 21. No other terms that we can combine in there, so I'm just going to bring it down. Remember, anytime I have those negative numbers, I like to put parentheses around it. And then finally, let's just go ahead and clean this up a little bit. X squared, remember when we're adding a negative, it's the same thing as a subtraction, minus 4x. Same thing here, minus 21. We have successfully multiplied together our original binomials of x plus 3 times x minus 7. It is the same thing as x to the second minus 4x minus 21. Remember guys, this is a super duper duper important skill. We'll be getting more practice in class, but please make sure that you write down all of these notes, okay? Have a great night.